Thank
Oh.
God.
Continue. Okay, I think we're good. So welcome, everyone. It's great to have us all together for a meeting.
Yes.
So we'll call the meeting together to order at 2:05.
Okay.
And we did not have a meeting last month, so we would need to approve the June 28th meeting minutes. Did everyone get a chance to see the meeting notes from 2 months ago?
Yes.
And do I have a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a
Yes.
motion to approve the June 28th meeting minutes.
Okay, Lorraine, and do I have a
I
second?
sec-
Okay,
I second the amendment.
Anna, great, thank you.
Yep.
So the June
Welcome.
28th meting minutes are approved. Thank you, everyone.
Mhm.
What I'd like to do today, we have a special guest speaker. Let's see. Give me 1 second. It's Tom Pilla from Independence Associates is with us. Tom, are you there? know
I'm
she-
right here, David.
Oh, great. Welcome, Tom. Tom represents Independence Associates. It's a no cost, no profit, funded by the Commonwealth of Mass agency. And Tom is going to speak a little bit about his agency today. So welcome to our meeting, Tom.
Thank you. You want me to start, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks very much for having me. Thank you for inviting me, Dave. And some of the things I say you may already know, but just to give you a general overview, which is what Dave asked me to do. We're Independence Associates. We are located right down the road from you in East Bridgewater. Actually, myself and one of my compatriots, Brian Borkland, came into one of your meetings just prior to the outbreak of the COVID. So we've been over to your organization before. And to give you a little idea, Independence Associates is an independent living organization. And as David said, funded by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the federal government. We're a nonprofit. There's no cost involved. There's no insurance needed to counsel with our people. If someone is looking for special help, such as a personal care assistant or something of that nature, then they have to have Mass Health or something or an insurance company. That has nothing to do with us. It has to do with the requirements of the state. We've been in existence since 1980 at a couple of different locations, Brockton, and then over to East Bridgewater, then back to Brockton, back to East Bridgewater. A lot of people, our name, I should put it the other way, our name, Independence Associates, Independent Living, confuses a lot of people. We do not have housing. Housing is probably the most difficult thing to accomplish these days, as you well know, and it's getting more difficult. But what we try to do is to help individuals to live independently in the community and not be part of assisted living or something of that nature. Now, on the practical side, the reason that the Commonwealth funds us is because it's about 50% less expensive to the Commonwealth if an individual lives in the community, either with his or her parents or with a spouse or alone or with a compatriot or whatever, but it's about 50% less costly to the Commonwealth. So that's the reason that we and 9 other independent living organizations are spread out through the state of Massachusetts. Some of the services that we have a bunch of counselors, options counselors, and resource coordinators who work with people, try to identify the goals that individuals with And I should say, I guess I'm so used to doing this, I didn't mention that we work primarily with individuals with disabilities. And it can be any disability, any age, and it could be a disability including self-defined disability. So whatever the disability is, we're glad to work with people. And what we start with a goal sheet, which the Commonwealth provides, and people try to identify what they're looking for. It might be housing, it might be aid of some kind. Younger people might want to help with studying for the driver's test, that kind of thing. We also provide for young people 14 and up, we provide information on how best to present themselves for a job, how to do a resume, this kind of thing. So a lot of different things. Let me list to you some of our services formally. Information and referral is the beginning when we take their information down, refer them to a consumer. We manage daily living and skills training. As I said, we have options counseling. We have individual and system advocacy. And what that means is we'll advocate for the particular individual who has been referred to us. And we do go to the State House and advocate for people with disabilities in general. So we do both of those things. And actually our head, Steve Higgins, actually goes to Washington a couple of times a year and advocates there. We have independent living education, goal-related assistance, health benefits and insurance information, housing application assistance, transportation information. And that is, we do not have transportation, but we help individuals depending on their location and finding the most convenient and least expensive transportation for them. We have avenues to employment, ongoing resource coordination support, and that means our resource coordinated counselors stay with the individual for a number of years, should the individual wish that. We have peer support, which is that we have a social system so that other individuals with disabilities can support, let's say, new individuals with disabilities. And that comes along with socialization opportunities. And we have alternative living transition services. That is, we transition people out of assisted living or nursing homes. We have personal care assistance services, which I mentioned earlier, and that involves having Mass Health or some other insurance company. And we have a whole type of youth services as well. And we serve 31 towns from Bridgewater, Raynham, Bridgewater, Raynham, Taunton, all the Bridgewaters, Halifax, Hanson, Norton, down through Cohasset, Duxbury, Hingham, Situate, and ending up in Plymouth. Our PCA services involve the Cape as well. So that's kind of a basic overview of what we do, and maybe you might have some questions that you would like to ask me, or something I can elaborate on more if I didn't elaborate enough on it.
Well, thank you first for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you for telling us a little bit more about your agency. Out of curiosity, how many folks do you have working there?
I don't know precisely, Dave, but I would say in the neighborhood of 25.
Okay, so you're kind of going in a lot of directions. You mentioned all the towns around that you're covering. It's
Right.
You're running very thin, I would imagine, with some
Yeah.
of the towns involved.
Yeah. Well, I do the outreach, Dave, and it is because there's probably 5 or 6 organizations in each town that we try to keep current with what we're doing, and to remind them that they can refer individuals to us. So, 31 times 5 or 6 is a lot of contacts. So I do that both with phone calls, with email, and calling on them in person. So it is pretty busy. Even in the summertime, which is a slow season, we get about 10 referrals a week. So, and most of our counselors are dealing with 30 to 40 individuals on their caseload. So
Wow,
it
that's
is,
crazy.
it is busy.
So my big question is this, since we've been entering, whether it be a recession or whatever, tougher times, I'm aware of many people that are struggling for housing. The apartment that they have been living in has gotten too expensive. The house, they can't keep up with it anymore. Do you have any involvement with emergency housing for such people? I would describe them mostly seniors, but they do have health issues. So I guess you could call them self-defined, disabled,
Right.
as you described. Is there any kind of emergency housing available for folks like this?
Not, I would say not really. We are contacted by various housing agencies whenever there is an availability. And a lot of times it's one availability at a time. We try to get that information out through, mostly through our counselors, to individuals. But housing is just a huge issue and a huge problem right now. And as you mentioned, the price is going up so high that even low-income housing is much more expensive. There are a lot of landlords who refuse Section 8, that is people with housing vouchers, who refuse those people. And my understanding is now that even arbitrages and equity funds are buying into apartment housing because it's so profitable, because the rents are so high, and a lot of places are trying to evict the current tenants because they can charge 2 or 3 times the rent that they're currently receiving. So
Right.
that's definitely, as you well know, a huge problem.
Tom, the other question I have, you reached out to me initially, which is great. I appreciate it. How should we work together? We're the Bridgewater Disability Commission. I assume you're working with other disability commissions. What could we do to help you, or how can we work better together?
Well, first of all, just to mention, there are a lot of towns where the disability commissions are inactive or not available to, not really contactable. They're kind of remote. You run a completely different operation, and you're very active and very visible in the community. So there are not many places like yours, Dave. As far as disability commissions go, there are councils on aging, there are housing authorities and so on, but not as many vibrant disability commissions. I think the best way is what we do. And I was just thinking while I was putting this information out that I will more regularly contact you in regard to services that we have that are available. And if you ever come across anyone that you feel could benefit from a referral to us, you can go on our website, which is iacil.org, iacil.org. And right on it, on the front page, it'll say get started, and you just take 5 minutes and fill out an individual's information, or that individual can do it themselves, and we'll get back to them. And one thing I ask is if you email me too, or I should say also, if you email me, I will make sure that your request goes to the top of the totem pole, so to speak, because we, as I said, we do get a bunch of requests, and I can kind of shepherd it along and get a counselor to see the individual that you're concerned with. But I think that, we've had communication in the past, and I think we can continue to do that. And that's probably the way, the best way for us to continue. Do you have individuals with disabilities that perhaps could use some help or not?
Off the top of my head, I don't have the names of folks.
Oh, sure, I don't expect that, no.
But, you know, we definitely keep you in mind for that. I'd
All
like to
right.
reach out to the rest of the commission. Does anyone have any questions for Tom?
I referred someone a while back ago about your company,
Okay, that's great.
and I don't know if they reached out to you, but they're disabled, so they were in a little bit of a, hardship, and so I told them, I said, reach out to this organization, and they can probably have counselors that can help you.
Well,
Because
that's
they
great.
ask, they ask us, but we can only do so much.
Right, right. How long ago was that?
That was back in the springtime.
Okay, okay. Well, you know, unless I had the name, I wouldn't be able to follow up for you.
We just had a conversation and I didn't really get her name.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay. Well, I'm glad that you did refer
I
somebody
just
to us.
try to help people, like if you talk to someone and someone else joins in, they say, oh yeah, and so that's how it gets started.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, that's great. I'm glad you did that.
Tom, have you, my name is Susan,
Hi,
and
Susan.
I live in Bridgewater Senior Housing. And we have congregate living here, and we have open spaces in congregate living. And that would be through Old Colony Elder Services, assists us with the congregate. And that would be one thing as far as the disabled. And that would be in the Heritage Building.
Okay. And Old Colony Elder Services handles bringing in individuals to your location?
Yes,
Okay. We certainly work with Old Colony, but it sounds like they have the referral whatever, okay, for your organization. Did you mean that you have openings, or do you just mean that?
there, as far as I know, there were openings. Now, how many had been filled, I don't know.
Okay. And
Because
what
I
was
know I know they were filling them.
Okay. Oh, they were, they were filling them? Okay. So
Because
you mean,
I think we've got like 10 spots in congregate.
wow, how many people, how many spots altogether do you have?
With the apartments and everything,
Well, yeah, just individual living
individual living.
spaces.
In Heritage, there's 40 apartments.
Wow, that's
And
great.
and across the street, there's I believe there's 40 cottages and 50 in the 2-story buildings.
Okay,
And they do have handicapped apartments also.
okay. Well, that's great. So, and you're in Bridgewater, right?
Yes,
So, as things stand now, Old Colony fills the vacancies that
as
you
far as
have?
I know, they're working with the Bridgewater Housing.
Okay, okay,
And I don't know how with the congregate, how Champ fits in it, but anyway, I do know that they had openings in congregate and that they were filling them.
okay, okay. Well, that sounds like, I'll check on it, but that sounds like Old Colony is handling that. So,
David, can I also ask Tom a question? Well, actually a comment. We run a triad. It's a seniors and law enforcement. It's a safety group that we've run in Bridgewater for a long time with the senior center,
okay,
police, fire, DA's office and all that. This year, we're actually having a health and public safety expo. We're having that in October. So Kathy Hayes will be sending you out. You're on our list of vendor list agencies to contact.
okay,
So if you'd like a table that day, October 18th, it's from 11 to 2. And that would be a great way to be able to put yourself out there with the information and the resources for seniors. That would be, we're hoping, 50,
Okay.
75 or more seniors,
Sure.
it would give you some great visibility. I know we've worked with you, myself as a retired director at the senior center. I know we've worked with you for quite a while, and Kathy Hayes also,
Okay,
coordinator, so we would love to have you join us.
all right. What would we
Yeah.
have to do, Lorraine, to get that?
Kathy, I believe Kathy Hayes was emailing you the registration form.
Okay,
So if you are interested, you would just fill that out and send that back to her.
okay.
There's information on the registration form, but we would love to be able to give you an opportunity to
Okay.
participate.
Has she already sent it out, Lorraine?
She's in the process of sending them out. I know I
Okay.
sent some out, but I don't believe you were on my list. I think you were on Kathy's list.
Okay,
So,
all right. I'll look for that then.
okay, that would be great. We'd love to have you participate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you
glad
for your
to do
work
it.
too. I know you've been in the field for a while, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question for Tom? Okay, well, Tom, first, I want to thank you again for being here today.
Thank you
And
for
Lorraine
inviting me,
just
Dave.
said, thank you for your good work. And I like to second that because I know, I can't even imagine how hard you work and you're doing so much good for the community. So thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Well,
Take
All right.
take care, Tom. Thank
All
you.
right, take care.
Have a nice
Bye
day.
now.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay. Hi, everyone else still there?
Yep.
Okay, great. So there's a couple things we want to go in. The next thing on our agenda was public comment. And I just want to make sure we have an opportunity. Is there anything anyone would like to bring up? We have some guests today.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's still our problem with the safety between Hemlock and Heritage. I mean,
That's fine.
it's been the whole summer and
Yeah.
yet they still haven't even painted the crosswalks.
Mhm.
You know what, Susan, I'm going to get into that in about 2 minutes. So we're not forgetting about that whatsoever.
Okay.
Is there any other public comments at all?
Mm-mm.
No,
Okay.
I just think that, again, when you're driving through downtown Central Square, or even driving anywhere in Bridgewater, heading towards the center, it is a traffic nightmare. It's a
Mhm.
pedestrian nightmare. It just continues.
has
There just
been,
seems to
yes.
be no changes at all. It's
Okay,
And I
really
just want to
sad.
say that while the commission isn't forgetting about the sidewalks, I thank David very much for not letting the town forget about the sidewalks because
thank you.
they
Uh,
do.
Take a chance.
It is. It's just a
Thank you.
nightmare.
So a couple of things. I don't want to be boring, but I'm going to read you the letter I sent to Mike Dudden, Kim Williams, the Highway Department. And it's been 8 days. I have had no response or acknowledgement. The Bridgewater Disability Commission has included Bridgewater Housing Authority crosswalks on the agenda for the last 2 months. The state of the crosswalks had been a major concern to Bridgewater Housing Authority residents several years ago, and at one time been repainted. The condition of the crosswalks and the lack of safety at the 2 crosswalks has been brought to renewed attention of the Disability Commission. BHA H&H Associate President Susan Lanzikos
That's
had
good.
been our,
Mhm.
I said right? Had been our initial contact. We have also discussed this issue with Colleen Doherty, who is the Taunton Housing Authority Executive Director, and as you know, covering the BHA under our property management agreement. Colleen has been extremely supportive of the need to improve safety at the BHA crosswalks. This is a vital project we can all support as necessary for the safety of our Bridgewater residents. The Disability Commission has walked in person and photographed the state of the 2 crosswalks. Both crosswalks are in need of a painting refresh. To improve visibility and resident safety, it may be advisable to paint crosswalks in bright colors, neon, or 3-dimensional paint to slow traffic. As an example, the waterfront in Plymouth has utilized multicolor crosswalks in many locales. There's also an orange barrel present on each side of the road. And I put a question mark as a speed deterrent, but it seems like it's warning against potholes because no one is slowing down when they come to that area. The current measures are not working. Residents in wheelchairs using walkers or canes cross the road as they head to facilities of BHA on either side of Main Street. Additional bright colored signage would be of assistance slowing down traffic at these critical crossings. Most of BHA residents are seniors, have some type of disability, and do not have the ability to cross Main Street quickly. The Disability Commission would ask that the town review the 2 crosswalks, keeping in mind that our most vulnerable residents are attempting to cross busy Main Street, endangering their lives as they do so. Considering that all upgrades would include fresh paint and several additional signs, the cost of this project would be very low. The safety of our residents is crucial. Thank you in advance for giving the BHA crosswalk issue your attention and guidance. We look forward to your response and would be interested in discussing the matter more fully at your earliest convenience. And I thank them, myself and the rest of the commission. I have heard nothing in just over a week. I haven't heard any response at all.
David,
So-
I'm going to respectfully suggest that you send that to town council.
I will
Nothing
do
you
that.
bring to Mike Dutton has ever gotten a response. The only response we ever got, which actually violated the sunshine laws, was when someone who had attended our meeting had an email exchange with Michael directly. So I'm just going to ask that you jump over the town manager's office and go straight to town council, because the town manager's office does not pay any attention to anything we bring to them. And they
So let me,
didn't pay any
so Karen,
attention
kind of
to
going with that. I addressed this, Karen, originally to Mike Dutton, Kim Williams. I think is it Peter DaCosta, the highway department? I think he's a highway. I did at the highway department. I looked up who it was.
Yeah.
And I have heard nothing. So are you suggesting I say, due to the fact we've had no response, we like to, and I'll go right through this whole thing again with the town council, Karen?
I
Yeah.
would say just forward that to the town council. You can forward it directly to the president of the town council.
Okay,
And say, we went through the town manager's office, we went through the highway department's office, we've heard nothing. And since the town council is ultimately responsible for the safety of the citizens of Bridgewater, we need to bring this to you now.
I
think
believe the
it's
chairman is
before
Fred
the town
Chase.
Manager's office does nothing regarding disabilities.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I
Lorraine,
don't know.
who,
I feel like they
Fred
don't
Chase is
really-
the town manager's office, is the, excuse me, the town, president of the town council, Fred Chase.
Fred Chase, okay. I heard the
Yes.
Fred part, I didn't get Chase.
Mhm.
Good. Other than that, is there anything I should change, or is that pretty spot on, or what do you think?
Very good letter.
Yeah,
Excellent letter.
Excellent letter.
Yep.
You know, it's
Very
too
good.
bad because I would have thought
Very good.
out of, the highway department, Mike Dutton and Kim Williams, I would have hoped somebody would respond and say, I'll get back to you. We'll set up a meeting, but I have heard nothing.
Right.
No.
So I'll take your advice, Karen, and I will forward this to the town council. Okay,
David, as you recall, I also I think I emailed you a couple pictures. Mike and I were driving around Rainham, and they
Mhm.
have the perfect signs where they actually alert you to a crosswalk prior to going, upon the crosswalk with a
Okay.
large sign, pedestrian on it, arrow, all in bright, I think it was a lime green or whatever. It like my husband said, former police officer, it actually, you're looking up as you're driving, you're not looking down. So it
Okay.
alerts you in that manner. And then also with the blinking lights and all of that, I mean, like you said, it isn't like we're asking for millions and millions of dollars, for
We're
this.
not. Well, it's funny though, Lorraine, because if you remember, it took 2 years or more, maybe even more, at the Marathon Park to get the disability signs put up in front of the gate to Marathon Park. And we didn't even need the signs. We're
I
talking
know.
probably $50 in parts and labor, and it took 2 years. So you're right. There is downtown Bridgewater at the crosswalks around the green, there's a bright, I don't know if you call it yellow or
Mhm.
yellow green, but there's bright signs with an arrow pointing down at the
Yes.
crosswalk.
Mhm.
So that's I would
Yes.
imagine, a fairly inexpensive signing.
Yeah,
And there is a sign at the Bridgewater Housing now, but it's not bright and it's not pointing towards the
No.
crosswalk. So this
No.
might be an inexpensive way to go. And I just wanted to share one more thing with you while we're talking about crosswalks. I got a call from a Bridgewater resident, and probably a lot of you might
Mhm.
know him, Sam Baumgarten.
oh, yeah, very well. Yep.
And I'm just going to read you what he said, and it kind of goes along with that. So he reached out to me as being on the Disability Commission. So here's his letter. Recently, I spent a week in Eugene, Oregon. He was attending the World Track and Field Championships. He noticed that every major street crossing in Eugene had verbal instructions accompanying the walk, don't walk signs. What a boon for the visually impaired. Then
Mhm.
the other night, I was watching a PBS show on blindness and learned more about the difficulty faced by those with visual impairment when crossing a street, especially when there is no verbal guidance. The PBS show and the experience in Oregon led me to think about our central square. It is difficult to cross at any time, even with full sight. And of course, there is no speaker system to give instructions. So is this something that should be brought before the commission? Should the town begin exploring the process of adding the verbal walk, don't walk for those who can't see the signs? Let me know what you think. Thanks, Sam.
Mm.
We've kind of gone through a
Awesome.
lot of this before. If you remember going back, I think it was 2 years, we were complaining in depth about the walkways in downtown Bridgewater at the green. They were not painted.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and finally they painted it, and they
Mhm.
look all right now, but they weren't going to spend any additional money for
Yeah.
anything else. So what are your opinions?
I definitely feel that, it is, I mean, we're trying to, we're trying to start with the basics here just to get signage. I can't even imagine them going into something further regarding, for visually impaired or whatever.
Right.
I mean, it's something, I want it all. I actually want it all. We need it all. But I think we just really need to get some kind of response from this letter. And going through the president of the town council is the way to start. And we
Okay.
really need to get some action on this. And then once we can get this moving, then we can just keep adding on,
I know it's a little bit too much to ask, but I would love to see one of those flashing lights
Mhm.
and the signage like you have, like
Yeah.
it is the downtown in the common.
Mhm.
I know.
I mean, we had somebody in a wheelchair the other day that took him almost 5 minutes to get across the street.
It's
And then he took
horrible.
life in his hands.
It's just horrible.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that the budget isn't our problem, that it's
Right.
the council's problem. And I
Yeah.
think one of our jobs is to point out how deficient our accessibility is in the town. And so
Exactly,
right.
while
Yeah.
I don't want to not say something about providing services for blind people,
Mhm.
just because it might be too expensive. I think we need to keep hammering away on
Yeah.
every person with every disability is important in our community.
Everybody's entitled to it, every single
Absolutely.
person. And that's what we're about, the Disabilities Commission.
And that's why we talked
know?
about, like, who needs sign language at town meeting? Well, it's not older people
Yeah.
with hearing aids, because they already know how to read the closed captions. But, there's all of these different layers, and I think it's our job to keep that on town council's
Yeah.
radar.
I agree with you, Karen, and
Yeah.
I admire your passion, because I'm at the point now, I'm starting to get very angry because we're trying to do good stuff. And, it's funny, I didn't even really, Tom,
Just trying to reach out.
Mueller basically said, we're one of the few still functioning disability commissions. And they don't make it easy for us, because
No.
we have great ideas. And a lot of the stuff that we're looking for, it doesn't cost much money,
Yeah.
but they don't ever make it easy and try to follow, work with us and follow through. And kind of going along with that, what really riles me is I can't tell you how many times Mike and the group have talk that they're gonna include us in some of the decision-making in Bridgewater. And we never hear from them until all they want is a signature on the
Mhm.
building of just approve this. And, we haven't been there for the planning portion of it. And it's getting to the certainly aggravating stage.
Like in the elder affairs thing with that stupid portico. And it shows up, pick the vendor. It was like, well, no, we don't like your design. You're skipping over the part that we objected to everything you presented to us. It was one of the most frustrating meetings of my entire life.
Mhm.
Oh, I know.
No, also trying to do is a good for the people who do have all kinds of disabilities. Even regular people trying to cross in Bridgewater, it's very hard.
Exactly.
I mean, just common sense, you just want to protect your people.
Right. No, you're right, Anna. You're right. And it's funny because every time we do this, and when we were talking with the resident in the past of the sidewalks near Waterford Village, I actually walked that area. Well, I
Mhm.
went over to Bridgewater Housing and I had my sister's dog with me and I tried a couple times to cross the street. Nobody slows down. Nobody slows down over there.
No.
And you need to hit them over their head with the signing and the brightness of the walk and the crosswalk and so forth, because people just don't pay attention. The drivers do not pay attention at all. And the folks that live at Bridgewater Housing, because of the age and so forth, they're just slower. They're slower and
Mhm.
it takes a while to cross the street.
Yeah,
I recall a time, David, when we were trying to get some of the parking lot, the lines painted in the
Right.
parking lot. You guys might remember that.
I do.
And it was so frustrating because people were double parking in a spot, or it was a nightmare.
No,
So
Right.
we got to the point, Gloria, you might remember this too. We were ready to actually purchase spray paint cans and just do our own lines. And when we mentioned that, do you remember? They
I
go,
do.
oh, no, you can't do that.
I
No.
do.
We go, why can't we? We want it done. We almost were at that point. Yeah.
Why don't we do that at the crosswalks at the housing authority?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
I know. We were that close, Karen, that close, you know?
So,
True.
okay, so summing
Yeah.
up so far, I'm gonna follow up with the town council and starting with Fred Chase.
Mhm.
And we'll put the downtown crosswalks on back burner for now and see if we can get a small success or it'll be a large success for us, Bridgewater Housing, and see
Mhm.
what we could do there. I have Marathon Park next to my agenda. I did not send them the letter for a major reason. I want them to respond to one issue from the town and follow up before we just keep adding more
Exactly.
work. And I have one more point on Marathon Park. So I had gone back to Marathon Park a couple additional times. And I looked at the two swings we were talking about. And I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name that I think was Frank that we were dealing with from the Parks and Recreation. And he did indeed put the straps into the two handicap swings, the big blue plastic swings. But one of them was cut again. And another one, someone had pulled the part of the strap that you put the canvas through. They pulled it off. So someone would have to play around with it to get it to function again. So I sent another email to this gentleman and I didn't hear anything back again. So as of a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, one of the swings was back to not functioning whatsoever, because the strap was cut and I haven't heard anything back. So it's really hard to get follow-up with anything. And I don't think we demand or ask very much. We're just looking for basic,
Yeah.
follow-up. And I just don't feel that we're getting it.
Actually, what you're asking for is for them to obey the law,
Mm. Mhm.
and they're not.
So maybe I need to word it like that, obey the law.
Yeah.
Because I've heard nothing in probably 2 weeks. Before I send another email, I'm going to go back to Marathon Park, check those two swings again and see if he did them again and did not let us know. But as of today I had heard nothing. So I will use those terms, Karen. That's a good way to put it.
I think that's really important, the key. We're doing, you know, our job being on the Disabilities Commission, you know, and what we're trying to accomplish. But obviously, there just continues to be barriers downtown,
Right.
you know?
Right.
What I always did, even, you know, in my other prior position, is I would just keep sending out email after this. I would just inundate until they got tired of me, and then finally I would get a response, you know? So I don't know if that's what we have to just keep
Maybe
doing,
that's
just,
it.
you know,
Maybe
just
that's
keep
that.
going at it and just
Because
say,
you know what's
hey,
funny?
we're here, we're not going away, you know?
You probably have seen the same thing, Lorraine.
Oh,
go-
for a
you go to
long,
town
long
hall,
time.
And
Yep.
and every time you go to town hall,
Yeah,
you with, I don't want to mention names because this is all tape, but you go to town hall and they always shake your hand. Oh, great to see you. And then you never hear anything again. They tell you what you want to hear, and then you never hear any follow-up whatsoever. They're very aggravating.
so you do it in writing, and then you just communicate in any way that you can, and
Right.
you leave a paper trail. I learned that the hard way a long time ago.
No,
Make
you're
sure
right.
everything's in writing and address it to those higher ups that need to see it, and just continue at it, you know?
Good.
So,
That's
yeah.
what we'll do. So the next thing I have is probably nothing to do with us, but it really bothered me, and I just wanted to get your opinion. Is there anything we could do? Whatever. It's basically Bridgewater Housing available units in Bridgewater. So here's my concern, and I mentioned it to Tom when he was here. I don't know if you know this, but in Bridgewater, our goal is to have 10% of 40B housing. Bridgewater has 11.2%. So we're more than maxed on 40B housing. Here's my issue. There is a waiting list a mile long for Bridgewater housing for seniors. And I can tell you 4 people I know that are involved with the senior center that could use subsidized Bridgewater housing. And my understanding is in the whole town of Bridgewater, and we have almost 30,000 residents, of which I believe 20% are over 60 or even over 65. And all we have is approximately 200 units of housing for seniors. Is there anything a town like Bridgewater could do to reach out to the state to apply for additional housing for seniors? I mean, I just think it's a shame.
It's not
And-
even 200. It's not even 200.
Isn't
David.
it more? It's more than that.
I mean, I look at Brockton, and Brockton's probably has like 90,000 or more residents, but they have way more than 3 times. I mean, one unit over there, they have high rises, they have low rises. I don't even know how much housing for seniors, but they literally have in the thousands. We have so little. Is there anything we could do, or is that just beyond anything we could get involved with?
I think, David, when you talk about housing, you have to break it down into, you know, several different categories. Obviously, the housing authority is guided under the auspices of the state.
Right.
Then there's 55 and up communities that we do have a couple, High Pond Estates and Stone
Right.
Meadow. So that falls in a different category. And then you just have your regular, you know, landlord tenant, you know, rental, things like that.
Right.
We've always addressed that for many, many years, as far as there not being enough affordable housing, you
Mhm.
know, for seniors, older adults, and that continues to be an issue. You know, I know they talk about 40B and this and that, but that always continues to be an issue. As far as senior housing, people would, you know, fill out an application and obviously have to qualify and, you know, be put under certain, you know, restrictions or whatever on that. So that's, it just always has been an issue with housing, and it's pretty sad. It really is. It's very sad.
You know, it's really,
It goes well beyond seniors. So I know
Yes.
with school age people, when someone turns 22, they're no longer eligible for services through the school district. And when I go to conferences, they absolutely refer to that as the cliff, where you have all of these services in place and then suddenly you got nothing.
Yes,
oh,
And
Exactly.
there are issues with day programs, vocational programs, all
Mhm.
levels of independent living.
Yes.
The situation is much more than just senior.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know, as the older I get, the scarier it looks because I'm running into people from through the senior center that their life is on the line here. They, you know, they can't afford to keep up with whatever they're living in, whether it be a house or an apartment. Everything is going through the roof. And this is the most frantic I've seen people ever in my lifetime, I believe.
Yeah, I know. I come across that too.
Mhm.
And
It's
I don't feel
big.
like a lot's being done, and I guess there really isn't a lot we can do, but, you know, it just seems like a town as big as Bridgewater, when you're talking almost 30,000 people.
Yeah.
There needs to be some kind of housing available, and, you know, you can't wait 5 years for, you know, affordable housing like BHA. That's sad. It's very sad.
Yes.
When
Yeah.
I would sit in IEP meetings, we would sit down with folks whose child was turning 16 and tell them to get on the list that year for housing for when they turn 22.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it, Karen. Really. It's
Well,
sad.
Sad.
I'll leave that
Yes.
on to the side then, because you know, it doesn't seem, there probably isn't too much we can do. Oh, by the way, Karen, I just have to mention, I love your background. I feel like you're in the middle of a beautiful garden,
Yeah.
and it looks very nice. Good
That
background
picture is
choice.
from the Fells Estate up at Lake Sunapee in New Hampshire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely. It really is nice.
Wish
Or
we
maybe
would,
Karen actually is in New Hampshire and we don't know that, right?
No, I am not.
You wish.
So the next thing I had, and this is just, if anyone wants to volunteer, this is something I started doing at the senior center. We're doing wellness calls, and we're starting with people we have in the system that are over 65. And I've done 2 calls, 2 days of calling so far. And actually, it seems to be going in reverse order, because the people I've been calling are all born in the 1920s. And
Oh.
they're definitely older. And
Mhm.
you learn a lot of things. A lot of the people that a year ago that were on our list no longer live there. Their phones have been disconnected.
Mhm.
They're in rehab. They've gone to a nursing home. If I get hold of someone, there's quite a few people I did get hold of. Some people were very appreciative of us reaching out. A couple of folks were very nervous and scared, you know, because they're told not to take any phone calls. And even when you identify who you are and, you know,
Yeah.
you're a volunteer for the senior center, they're still
Mhm.
nervous or scared that somehow you're going to take advantage of them.
Mhm.
But
Exactly.
it's a great thing, and, you know, you're spending like an hour and a half of your time making phone calls, and
Mhm.
it's really well worth it. If anyone's interested, you know, please reach out to Emily at the senior center.
Okay.
And we've have a couple people doing it right now, and it's really kind of nice
Mhm.
giving back to the community.
Yeah, things will get easier for the wellness calls because there was a big gap in the summer with no
Oh.
student interns. And I know I have 2 starting on Wednesday.
Oh,
And
great.
Good.
wellness calls are supposed to be part of their gig along with some of the
Mhm.
other programming that's going on over there. And I think there's always at least one from social work, sometimes psychology. So there should be a few more hands on deck, but there's
Mhm.
it never seems to be quite enough. There's always more need than people.
Yeah.
That's true. It's true.
That's great, Karen, with the interns. That's fantastic.
My interns love it there. I'm
Mhm.
the first faculty person in my department to have interns at the senior center, probably as you know, Lorraine. So I have a student, my intern who was there in the spring. Some of you may have met Cassie.
Oh, yeah.
She is down in Washington, DC, starting
Oh.
her graduate program in speech pathology at Howard University.
Oh,
Oh, that's
wonderful.
great.
Wow.
Great.
Absolutely credits being part of the
Mhm.
community at the senior center for kind of the boost that got her accepted. So,
Yeah.
That's
mm,
nice.
Wonderful.
yeah.
I had the
That's great.
pleasure of watching her interact with a lot of the seniors. She just has a gift. She has a way about her. So I am one of the many people who was so grateful that there is this internship program and that we
Mhm.
have you for this back and forth. It's been a real positive addition.
That's wonderful.
We have been growing the Memory Cafe, and when I was able to attend while Cassie was running it, I had never seen so many people at a cafe.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Wow.
So In
Nice.
this semester, I've got Joffney, he's a guy, and I have Siobhan, she's a girl. So there will be 2 folks over there, and they're hoping that having a guy intern will encourage more men to see the
Mhm.
senior center as a place that's not just for women who want to knit.
Right, yes. Exactly. Yeah.
That's very good.
That's great.
So the next thing on the agenda is, what do you want to see on topics for our September meeting? And I'm throwing it out to all you guys and our guests. Is there anything that you would like to see us discuss or attach ourselves to as we go forward? And is someone talking?
You have me at a loss of words, David.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm just an email away. So if you think of something in the very near future or next couple of weeks, please let me know, because we're always looking for new topics that we could, work towards.
I'll definitely keep that in mind, and I'm thinking it would be great to have someone that is associated with the, Mass Association for the Blind or something along those lines. I think it would be wonderful to have someone come in and present on that.
Right.
So
And
that,
before I say the date and the end of the meeting, I got to get back to Karen. I got to get mad because we're always trying to do, accomplish something, and it is very, very frustrating that nobody ever gets back, and you can just kind of, email and, I don't think we're outrageous. I think anything we're looking for is small in nature and inexpensive, and nobody ever wants to follow up, and it's very aggravating.
Frustrating.
And so I think maybe that's just something that should always be on our agenda, is how can we keep things from falling off the radar? And so as long as it's continuously discussed in our meetings, which are being recorded, it's continuously reflected in our minutes, which are available, and that there's this continuing line of communication between David and the town manager's office and town council. We can't stop advocating, and it gets boring and repetitious, and I get that. But that's kind of our job, because we're advocating for people who are less able to do that.
exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that was my point, Karen. Like I said, in the many years that I was at Elder Affairs, if there was one thing that we continuously did, like you said, it was just barrage them with the emails, with the phone calls, with this and that. Just don't ever let it rest. Just continue. It's an ongoing agenda item,
Yeah.
So-
Hey, David,
Yes.
why are these meetings being recorded? Does anybody watch them?
Say that again.
Does anybody watch these recorded meetings?
I don't know. I don't know.
Why are they
I
being
think-
recorded? Is it
I don't know
a law?
whether Josh is still on board, but I think it's state law that
It's required.
public meeting, if,
Why-
yeah. And
Yep,
since
it is, you are correct. We have to record it because there's Zoom meetings.
So Josh, let me ask you a question. Can you tell if people after the fact are viewing these?
Yeah, so we put all of our recorded meetings on our YouTube page, which can be accessed from the Town of Bridgewater's main page as well. And then, you can go to the YouTube page and see how many people have viewed the recordings.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So Susan, just be aware that we're going to keep pushing and see what we can accomplish with the crosswalk. So we have definitely not forgotten you, and we'll keep working to that end game.
Well, we thank you very, very much for everything that you're doing for us. And we appreciate it.
And Susan, you can always reach out to me as you have in the past. And I told David I'd be happy to be the liaison from this Disabilities Commission to the Housing Authority. So, whatever, reach out to me.
Let me get right back to you.
And I've also spoken, off and on occasionally to Colleen Doherty, the director. So,
Right.
Kristen,
Kristen's another one, and Kristen is going to write a letter also. Kristen is our director that's here in Bridgewater. Colleen's the one that oversees Bridgewater, Taunton, and Stoughton.
Right.
So Kristen's going to be writing a letter and I'm gonna have her forward it to you, David.
Okay,
Mhm.
that
Okay,
sounds great. And also, Susan, please join us for our next meeting, which is going to be Tuesday, September 27th at 2 o'clock. And it's going to be Zoom also.
mhm.
Okay, great.
And we'll just make sure you're on the list, and you'll get an email and a link and all that.
Okay, well, I thank you very much, and thank you for including me.
And
Great.
I also wanted to mention too, David, that Joan Newmeister is the chair of the Bridgewater Housing Authority Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
So I have kept her in the loop too, which is
Oh, good.
really important. So
Oh, great. That's good to
she's the
know.
chair of the commissioners.
I just thought of something when I attended the quarterly meeting for the Mass Office on Disability. They've got a meeting. The meetings are usually hosted by a disabilities commission. And they were looking for people to host the next quarterly meeting, being fully aware that this would not be an in-person meeting, given the restrictions within the Commonwealth. So I just thought I'd put that out there to see, and it's a good thing Josh is on board, to see if, like, do we have the bandwidth at the Bridgewater, through the Bridgewater Zoom, to host a larger meeting with perhaps close to or slightly over 100 participants.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's open to everybody that works for the Mass Office of Disability and all the disability commissions and any other interested parties.
Wow.
So there were a good number at the meeting I attended, but I didn't want to raise my hand and say Bridgewater will do it until I knew, like, do we have the bandwidth to do stuff like that? So anyway, I will send that information to David, and you can follow up with Josh and the folks in Town Hall to see if we can host a meeting like that in the future.
Okay. So is everyone look good for Tuesday, September 27th?
Yep.
And again, it looks like we're going to be doing Zoom meetings throughout the year. So it never ends. Okay, is there anything anyone would like to bring up? I think we still have a guest or two on. Is there anything anyone would like to share with us before we adjourn the meeting?
No, I'd like to just thank everybody for continually being engaged, and very passionate about trying to advocate for everybody, on regarding their whatever, disabled, non-disabled, just the community in general. I think it's wonderful, and we're trying the best that we can. So
Oh, yeah. Well, we
You
have a
know.
good group here, Lorraine,
Yeah,
and
we really do.
I think, I'm very fortunate that we're a good group to work together, and I
Yeah.
enjoy it. I definitely enjoy it. Okay, well, enjoy
David, I want to
Yes.
thank you very much. I'm not going to be able to attend the meeting on the 27th. I have
Okay.
I have a previous doctor's appointment
Okay, well,
that I have to do, but I will definitely look at the recording.
Okay, and we could also share with you the highlights of the meeting also.
Mhm.
That's
be
great.
happy
We
to.
appreciate it.
We'd be
And
happy
if
to.
I see somebody out there with paint and painting a crosswalk, I swear I'm gonna go up and give them a big hug and kiss.
So David, get your spray can out, David. Get
I
your
know,
spray
I'll
can
be there. I'll be there. Okay.
I'll bring cookies.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Chocolate chip. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy the last week of summer. It's already going to be Labor Day next week. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
The weather is definitely going to be great. So enjoy, and we'll see you all at the end of September. Thank you,
Thanks a
everyone.
lot. Take
Thank you.
care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care.